What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Dudes Who Bet Sports.
So you want to bet sports, but you need some advice on how to cash in big at a heck of a price. Well, if you want enough money to line your shorts, then you're in the right place. This is Dudes Who Bet Sports. Dudes Who Bet Sports, it's your favorite show. Dudes Who Bet Sports, where degenerates go. Dudes Who Bet Sports, time to change your approach with Aaron Halterman and his father, the coach. Let's ride.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Dudes Who Bet Sports show. Papa Dude, I am so excited for the show. I think this is going to be our best one yet. I've got hot takes. I've got opinions. I've got them ready for you. So I hope you're prepared.
It was a hell of a weekend. There's no doubt about it. I'm fired up more than usual. Again, my mind's cluttered with all the football I watched. But, yeah, this is going to be a good one. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, some things made us happy over the weekend for sure that we'll talk about. Some things we're pissed off about. I'm sure we'll talk about those as well. Yeah, triggered at times, I think we'll be on the show. If you watch the first 2 weeks, I kind of did fun little things like talking about, top 5 questions of the weekend or the best and worst of the weekend. Not this time. I'm going straight to the games. We're gonna break down all the games, go to the scoreboard recaps. I'll put it up on the screen now. Before I do, just real quick, a reminder, everybody, we do have a website, racingdudes.com/sports. We have that updated every day with current articles. You've got right now, you got the Green Bay game for tonight. You got a preview of that. You got the new top 25, and you got the bottom 10 that Papa Dude always loves. We were talking on the way home. The bottom 10, UConn is going to be number 1 all year. I'm sorry. I don't think you're going to get to update much on that.
No, they just keep performing at a lower level that you need to do to be in the bottom 10. They're doing everything well. They're very consistent at being awful. And
yes, they are.
That's how you get
anyway,
to be number
go to
1.
racingdudes.com/sports. You can check out all the latest articles. And that's also, if you missed the show, need to find the podcast, that's another place you can find it as well. Okay, that's it for the advertisement, Papa Dude. We got to get into this because the fun just begins. We're not going to talk about the Monday Night Football game just yet. I don't really want to talk about the Thursday game either. That was just a wild one. I mean, a lot of fun, but not one we had a strong opinion on one way or the other. I'm actually going to fast forward us all the way to last night, because I think this is the number 1 game we need to lead off with today. The Baltimore Ravens somehow beat the Kansas City Chiefs, come back to win the game 36-35. Boy, this was a hell of a game. The Chiefs, who, I don't know, I just thought they were much, much better than this. They've got serious problems right now, don't they?
Well, they do. And there's we don't need to overreact.
No,
but there are some issues that are pretty obvious, but they've only played 2 games. So we got to keep this in mind. Neither one of us are Chiefs fans,
right,
at all, even though we live in Missouri. And, I couldn't really enjoy this last night because I had the Chiefs and you did too, to win the game and by, cover. And if I did, I got every single one of my big bets right this week.
Yep.
So I couldn't really enjoy it, but I kind of did anyway. They could easily be 0-2.
Yep.
Chiefs fans, you better be glad you're 1-1 at this point. Offensively, they look okay, but like you said, they can't run the ball. They're struggling running the ball, which is a problem. But the main problem is they're getting gashed on defense by the other teams running the ball. And what happens is when you can't defend the run, then you got to commit extra guys to try to stop the run. And then that depletes your secondary somewhat. And a guy like Lamar Jackson, who's not a great thrower, can find and hit somebody like Marquise Brown. He was wide open, 20 yards behind anybody.
Yep.
But the problem is they've got to fix their defense against the run, because that's 2 weeks in a row they have been gashed. And last night was, really bad.
It was bad. And Dennis comments and says, I wouldn't say serious problems because they looked all right. I disagree. They have maybe the best tight end to ever play, and they have maybe one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. They cover up so many problems on this team That's the thing about it. Yeah, overall grand scheme of things, okay, they're 1-1. They lost by a point on the road to Baltimore. They beat the Browns. They played two really good teams. So there are positives. There's no question about it. But the negatives are going to get this team beat in big games. When you have the Chiefs offense, you don't have to have a superior run game, but you have to be able to run the ball in spots. In a perfect example last night, it's 35-24. The Chiefs get the ball back. It's the fourth quarter of this game. Right there is when you need to run the ball a little bit. You need to be able to get a first down with the running game, milk the clock. Instead, they go 3 and out. They didn't go 3 and out, actually, because Mahomes throws an interception that I can't believe he threw it. It just, he did get hit late that day. Well, that was part of it. But right there is when that game turned, because the Chiefs had it. It was over. You get, even if you don't even score, but you get a couple first downs, you run clock, the game's over. Even if you get a field goal, it's over. That swung it. And then the other problem, you could probably survive with this running game, but the other problem, and I just don't get it, they're just getting, like you said, just gashed on the ground. And they're giving up big plays in the passing game. And this is 2 weeks in a row. And everybody knows I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. This is 2 weeks in a row. They made a quarterback look better than what he is. Ricky texted me last night and said, well, Lamar Jackson, he's earned his contract now. I would pause on saying Lamar Jackson's great still. They made him look a lot better than what he is.
Well, just a week ago, Lamar Jackson killed the Ravens against the Raiders. A couple of fumbles.
Lamar Jackson tried to kill the Ravens against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs wouldn't take it.
Right.
That's the other thing about it.
Right. And, Dennis was saying they don't have serious problems because they looked all right. Well, Dennis, you don't understand. Well, I'm sure you do. But the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. They're not just trying to win the conference and make the playoffs. This is a team that is a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Yep.
And again, I don't want to overreact because it's only 2 games. And that's the thing. Us fans have a tendency to overreact to certain things. And it's a long season. But there are obvious problems. And the other thing, if you can run the ball like this against the Chiefs, you keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. They don't have the ball a whole lot in these games, because if you can run the ball, it runs clock. And in the NFL, that clock runs more than it does in college. And I mean, these long drives run off 7, 8, 9 minutes in these games.
Yeah, to be clear, when you get a first down in college, the clock stops. The clock never stops in the NFL. That's what he means by that.
Yeah.
And you're right. This is 2 weeks in a row they've kept the ball away, and then you flip it over to the Chiefs. And what I'm talking about, and listen, it's a lesser problem than the defense, but it's still an issue. The Chiefs can't really run the ball, so when they get it, it's usually a quick score. And so then you're throwing your defense right back out there on the field. It's an issue. The biggest thing, and you touched on it, you kind of looked at the Chiefs as well. They're just kind of elite. They're just kind of up here, and there's maybe 1 or 2 teams that can get to that level, but that's about it. Through 2 games in 2021, they're just like all these other NFL teams. They're a team fighting for a playoff. I'm with you. It's way early. Okay. You've played 2 games. It's way early to panic. I don't know if the run game is really fixable. I don't think they have a back. The defense should be better than this. So that's what they've got to fix. So, and yeah, even Jared, he's realistic in the fact that that's the problem. Now, again, they've ran up against 2 teams that can run the ball. Okay. And so they're very good at the run. That's what their strength is. So that definitely exaggerates what's happening here. But still, you're talking about, and you said it, this is not a run-of-the-mill team. This is a team that should go to the Super Bowl. This team is the favorite. They're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. So you're going to judge them a little harsher. And guess what? When you get in those big games, these teams are going to be able to run the ball.
Well, and they're going to be ready for this. Here's the other kind of disturbing thing. The Ravens didn't have much preparation time coming into this game.
Yeah.
They played on Monday night, lost a heartbreaker on Monday night. You got to give the Ravens a ton of credit.
Yeah.
Last night, man, that was a huge win for them. They were going to go down 0-2 in that tough division that they're in. that was a must win for them. You know, you got to give them a lot of credit, but when you play the Chiefs, you're going to get the other team's best shot. I mean, they're going to be ready to go when you play them. I just don't think the Chiefs look sharp. I just think there's something missing. Even offensively, I mean, how can you argue with the production they're getting? But they just look a little bit off. And you know, I think they'll get that straightened out. You know, they come home this week, and I think you'll see some improvements made. But the bottom line is, if you can't stop the run, you got problems.
I think Jared, he made a comment to me, intensity, and they have not matched the intensity of the other team in both games. And I totally agree with that, Jared. I agree with that point.
Could they be depending on Mahomes too much to pull them through this? You know, could that be, or are they reading their press clippings too much? You know, being a little bit thinking they're a little better than what they are. I don't know.
I think the big thing, the other guys, other than the big three, because Tyreek and Mahomes and Kelsey, I mean, Kelsey is playing out of his mind.
Oh, he is.
By the way, I used to think he's kind of a jerk. I don't really like him. I totally have changed my opinion.
I think he's the real deal.
He's awesome. Yeah. He might still be a jerk, but he's awesome to watch.
He's a great player.
They're not doing. Listen, if you don't know who the Chiefs are, or you're just a casual fan, you don't even know any of their other players because they just haven't played that well. Now, Honey Badger played pretty well last night. I guess I should throw him in there. And he's kind of, you know, one of the top 5 players in the secondary in the NFL. Like, he's a great player. So he did show up and make big plays, but they're just not doing anything. The other players aren't. And maybe that is more of just kind of we're looking at these other guys and they'll pull us through, and, you know, we don't have to worry about it as much.
Well, I don't know the Chiefs like Jared does and others. Seems to me like they have one down lineman on defense, and that's Chris Jones. Well, if you only got one, if you only got one, you double team him, you take him out of the game. Somebody else has got to step up. I don't know if they have one. They're weak at linebacker. You know, that's the given. They're not very good there. Mm-hmm. So their defense has got major problems that they've got to solve. And if they can get that under control, then I think they'll be okay. I'm sure not burying the Chiefs. That's for sure.
Well, absolutely not. You shouldn't bury them. They will, again, their defense has many of the same players that we've seen they've never been like elite, you know, but they've always, other than the first year Mahomes was there, they've always been decent enough to win when coupled with that offense. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's I'll move on to the comment, Jay. Sorry, we got to going on this, and I forgot it was even up there. But and this is a great point, Jay. With 6:50 left to go, third quarter, KC team total was 42.5, and KC had 35. It seemed like it was too low, right? I mean, I thought I was texting Samich. He had some overs at 33.5, 35.5, and 40.5, and I said they make it to 50. Like, this is crazy how easily they're scoring, and then bam, they just stopped. And when they stopped, that's when the defense, that flaw really came up. But good job, though. Hit the Ravens spread and money line. So nice job there, Jay. I hope you didn't get drunk like Indiana Grant and lose that ticket, though, buddy. I haven't forgotten about that story. That was great on the Rocket Hour Thursday. He told us that. Dennis took KC -3.5. So did we, but he also hit the over. So that was good. I strongly disagree that Hill isn't being used correctly. That's one of the best offensive coordinators he's a head coach, but he's also the offensive coordinator. So I think Hill's being used just fine. I think what happened last night, they took him away, and then you saw Travis Kelce run all over the field. Go ahead.
Well, another thing, Aaron, I saw receivers catching the ball for the Chiefs that I've not seen, you know?
Yeah. Well, they were able to take Hill away last night, and you've seen teams do that. And sometimes they'll take Kelce away, and then Hill goes crazy.
Yeah,
that's what makes them, so hard to stop. Final comment, and we're going to move on. We'll give Jared his therapy here.
He needs
to. We talked it out last night. We talked it out this morning.
He needs it. This is what you need. You need therapy after a loss last night.
Well, listen, I feel like we went to an OU game that we lost, so we need therapy too. So even though we won, but we'll get to that. Not only that, Jones looked completely lost most of the night playing his new position and against that run. Yeah, he didn't show out like normal. I still thought he played okay, but he wasn't that dominant factor last night, I didn't think.
They'll probably win 51-15 this week, and everybody will be thrilled with the Chiefs again. That's the way this works.
Well, again, here's the thing. It's 2 games, yes, but you remember last year they started having problems, and it was the offensive line. A lot of people thought, well, maybe they have more problems than what is. Oh, Jared, that's too long of a comment. We got to move on. Here, I'll throw it up, and people can read that. But I'll throw. We got to move on.
I'm glad that he's able to type this morning. I think that's pretty good.
No, he's definitely was salty last night, but
yeah, that's fine.
The morning after, Jared calms down into what reality is for his teams, and like most of us. So let's move on. This was another exciting game. We'll get going into some of the other ones. This is not just a Kansas City podcast, but that was a hell of a game last night to watch, by the way. But okay, let's move on. Los Angeles travels to Baltimore. Baltimore Colts. Los Angeles travels to Indianapolis and gets a nice road win, 27-24. I went to this game next because this was a wild game. Back and forth, all kinds of weird things happening. The Rams moved to 2-0, though, so let's kind of project what's going to happen with the Rams. This wasn't pretty, but it's a big victory for them, right?
It was. And anytime you go on the road, it's a big win. And it does. And in the NFL, a win's a win, and you just take it. I didn't think they played real good, but they escaped with a victory. I thought Indy played pretty hard in this game. Indianapolis's opening schedule is just brutal, and now they're 0-2, and they're in some trouble. But yeah, that's the game the Rams have got to win. They got to win those games on the road any way they can. And I thought Stafford looked good again, so good win for him.
No win is a bad win on the road in the NFL. The Chiefs would have won that game last night on a last-second field goal. It's not a bad.
We're not even talking about it this morning, probably.
Well, I think we're still talking about they've got some issues, but it's not panic. Well, no. Some people are panicked. So anyway, we'll move on from that one. The Bears beat the Bengals in a very, very ugly game. Joe Burrow, 3 interceptions. That was a terrible game. The Brownies get a win, 31-21 over the Texans. I tell you what, though, if Tyrod Taylor hadn't got hurt in this game, I'm not sure the Browns would have won.
No, and again, I think the Browns have defensive problems. Their offense is fine, but they're having trouble stopping people. And I don't know how good Houston is, but, I'm sure you were watching it. I was following it on ESPN Gamecast, and Houston went up and down the field on them pretty much. So, and then your quarterback got hurt. So I think the Browns have got some defensive issues also. But again, good bounce back win. They got to get that one.
Dennis brought up just real quick. I'll go back to the Rams. He said, Rams -4. I think he had them. I hated that result. A great game, closer than I thought. But the Colts, he did say, would go 0-5, 1-4 to start, alluding to that schedule. And listen, this was a game. If you bet the Rams -4, they had a million chances to cover, and they just wouldn't take them. So very frustrating game if you bet the Rams. This game, frustrating for me. Tua gets hurt very early in the Bills-Dolphins game, and that was it. Jacoby Brissett looked terrible. They turned the ball over 100 times. The Bills just dominate the Dolphins 35-0. That was a laugher. Patriots win 25-6 over the Jets. And I tell you what, Papa Dude, when you give Belichick a rookie quarterback to play against, 4 interceptions for Zach Wilson of the Jets, Patriots dominate. Listen, the Patriots could be 2-0, fumble, cost them the game against the Dolphins. Your Patriots, you got to be happy with them.
Well, you remember when we were doing the over-unders and we went through their schedule and we thought they could get off to a really good start. And that Miami game was one they needed. But this Mac Jones is going to be a really good player. And I thought that was a really good win over the Jets. Even though the Jets aren't very good, that still was a pretty convincing win. So this Patriots team is one to watch down the road.
So far, Mac Jones, what they're asking him to do isn't much. It's kind of what they asked Cam to do last year, just manage the game. But the difference, and this is 2 games. So again, hit the pause button. But so far, the difference is Mac Jones isn't killing them with turnovers like Cam did. Cam would have 1 or 2 plays within a game where he just would do something dumb and it would really hurt him. And when you got a team that that's going to be in a lot of close games, just manage the game. Don't turn it over. So Mac Jones certainly looks good through 2 games. But he's in a really, really good situation, which is not what Zach Wilson's in or what, Trevor Lawrence is in. So, all right, we'll move on, though. This was one of your top 5 games to play. The Niners, 17-11 over the Eagles. You had to sweat this one out the whole way. I think we saw who the Eagles were offensively in this game, though.
Yeah, they got problems on offense, and we know that. But San Francisco wasn't much better either. And I was sitting there following this game thinking, good Lord, are they going to blow this? Because when they got it to 17-11, I was kind of sweating it, but they ran out the clock and ended up winning. The Niners 2 weeks in a row on the road. That's hard to do. So they got the 2 wins that they needed, and that's the bottom line. Doesn't matter how you get them. You just got to get them.
Yeah, survive and advance for the 49ers. They go on, like I said, 2 weeks in a row and get wins. Not the best 2 teams, but still East Coast time zone teams, and going out when you're from the West Coast and going over there and winning is big. All right, this was a huge win too, especially coupled with the Chiefs' loss last night. The Raiders go to Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers 26-17. The game was tight at times, but really the Raiders kind of controlled this game. How surprised were you that they were able to go in there and win?
Well, I picked them. I picked against the
spread. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I think the Steelers are on their way down. I really do. They should not have won in Buffalo. They don't look good on offense at all. Derek Carr is playing unbelievable for the Raiders. He looks great. I think Gruden's a pretty good coach. I really do. I think he's kind of cocky, but I think players rally around him. I think they like that. His attitude, he's cocky as can be, and I think they like that. I saw him after the game celebrating with him, and it was like, you can tell when it's fake with those players when they fist bump their coach and stuff like that, and you can tell. I can anyway. They genuinely are together. That was a huge win for them. 2-0. Pretty good division they're in. That was a monstrous win. I kind of think we need to watch the Steelers. They may be going into a nosedive.
Yeah, I'm with you. You said it on Thursday. I think Buffalo, as a team and their fans, were kind of looking around last week like, how the hell did we lose that game? Like, we're better than the Steelers. And they just got upset. They did not look good, either side of the ball. And you're right. I think the Raiders, I'm still skeptical, but 2 wins now, and that's big, and they're building momentum, as Dennis says, and I agree. Yeah, they certainly are. More games here. The Saints went to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Gosh, that was an ugly, ugly game for the Saints. I wonder if losing all those coaches had a lot to do with how bad that looked, because it was bad.
Aaron, when you lose 8 coaches, I don't know how they did it. I don't know what they did to replace those guys. I don't know who they put in there. Do you want to give you a shout out, though, when we were doing the over-unders way back in August? You liked the Panthers a lot. That's 2 for them. And remember when we were going through that, we said their schedule was conducive to getting them off to a good start. Yep. And that's 2 big wins for them. They look pretty decent.
And that's a game we may not have thought that they would have got, too. That's one we may have counted as a loss. Matt Rule's a really good coach.
He is.
A lot of times these college guys come to the NFL and they don't really do all that well. But Rule was kind of he's not your typical college coach when he was at Baylor. He's a little different. So I think he's doing pretty well there. A college coach that's come to the NFL and is not doing well, that's Urban Meyer. The Broncos easily beat the Jaguars 23-13. This game wasn't that close. A kick return for a touchdown late made this one closer than what it was. This was a wild one. We'll talk about it. The Vikings, oh man, they should have beaten the Cardinals. They blew all kinds of chances. Arizona wins 34-33. The Vikings miss a chip shot field goal for the NFL standards late. Gosh, this was a hell of a game. Momentum swings all around. So now Arizona's 2-0. How serious are you taking them? They kind of look more like the Arizona that we kind of thought they were this week.
Yeah, I can't get behind them. The tradition, the history of the Cardinals organization down through the years is not stable. It all depends on Kyler Murray for them. He's got to play lights out every week. That's a lot of pressure put on a guy. Minnesota is in big trouble. 0-2 to start. Both tough losses too. They have been on the road, and we'll see. That division's terrible that they're in, so they could bounce back. I'm not completely sold on the Cardinals yet, but they are fun to watch. This kid is something else.
It's interesting. They do rely so much on Kyler, and he was lights out, and they were getting ready to pull away, and then all of a sudden he throws 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh boy. Within the game, we've gone from one way to the other. So
yeah,
listen, I think he's the most talented quarterback in the league as far as all the things that he can do. Like I'm not going to say most talented. He's the most athletic quarterback in the league, but he makes plays like this within the games with these interceptions that just kill them at times. That's the thing he's got to get away from, but he's obviously playing great so far. Atlanta made the game a little closer against Tampa Bay, but in the end, Tampa Bay just too much. That's no surprise. Let's move on to one that was wild. The Cowboys win 20-17, so they do get the win. And we said last week, these are games they have to win. They go to Los Angeles, they get the win. But what were your overall thoughts on Dallas and Los Angeles here?
Well, was that a comedy of errors or what?
Yeah.
Neither one of those teams wanted to win. Didn't look like. They tried every way to lose. I mean, Dallas just baffles me. Dak Prescott has got unbelievable numbers, but how many times does he make a dumb play? Like he got sacked a couple of times when they were in obvious field goal range.
Yeah.
I don't know. They won, and that's what you go out there to do. They did win. They're better than the Chargers. That shouldn't have been close. But I don't know. And the Chargers got a terrible call in that game. Did you see that one?
Yes.
What kind of a freaking call was that?
It was awful, and we're going to get into some more bad calls when we get to college that were worse than that even. But yeah, they got a terrible call. The Chargers had all kinds of chances to win this game still, and wouldn't take it. And then Dallas finally does it. Zerline has all kinds of trouble week 1 and then kicks a 56-yarder in week 2 to get it done. This is one of those games you walk away and you go, I'm still not sure what either one of these teams are. They're two strange teams. I guess Dallas in this division, I mean, are they the favorites now? I mean, is that where we're at with them, at least within the division?
They got to be.
Yeah.
But and those are types of games Dallas loses. They tried to lose that one. The other thing, that towards the end of that game, why did they run the clock down like they did to kick a 56-yard freaking field? What are they doing?
I don't know.
I'm sitting there going, and I was kind of rooting for them. I don't know why, but I kind of like them a little. Not much. I mean, I don't care.
Because you had them plus 3.5. That's why.
Well, yeah, but I don't hate the Cowboys. I don't care if they lose. It don't bother me one bit when they lose. I don't lose a minute.
Yeah.
I just go outside and do something. It doesn't bother me. But I was kind of rooting for him. I'm sitting there going, what are you doing? Because the guy Zerline is a good kicker, but he struggled last week. I'm thinking you're going to put this game on him. And I just didn't understand it. Now, the Cowboys, here's their next couple of games. They've been on the road the first 2 weeks, and they come out of that 1-1, and I guarantee you going into those two, that's what they thought they would be.
Well, yeah, they would take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So they got the Eagles on Monday night. At Dallas, you have to win that. And then they got Carolina. They got 3 home games in a row. They got Carolina and then the Giants. So we're going to know the next 3 weeks what they are.
At worst, they have to go 2-1 in that stretch.
They have to.
At worst. Any worse than that, and they're back to what they are. So Jason Hummel says, McCarthy said the clock he was watching went out. Apparently, it was the only clock in the building.
Okay, Jason, here's the deal. You got 59 million coaches over there on them damn sidelines.
Yeah.
There ain't one guy on that damn sidelines that knows what's going on. This is total bullshit. That's total bullshit. That's just ridiculous. That's what pisses me off about. I'm sorry, this is my rant. That's what pisses me off about the NFL. You got all these coaches, and you got too many. You got too many Chiefs, not enough Indians, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll couple your rant with my rant. This is my biggest pet peeve in all of football, no matter what level. You've got studs, you've got warriors out there on that field, and every time, no matter the level, they play for a field goal in the spot. Every time. Even to a lesser degree, think of the Chiefs last night. They get the ball with 4 minutes left, down 1 point. Once they got into field goal range, Andy Reid was playing for a field goal. Yeah. And it's not even that Butker – I think Butker probably would have made it if he would have got the opportunity. Yeah. But who would you rather go win a football game for you? Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, or a kicker that looks like me? That's the I'll never get it. So I don't agree with Scott here. He says Mike McCarthy's an idiot. No, he's not. He's not an idiot. I think these NFL head coaches depend on these assistants for so much crap. And if you're a head coach, you can't do that. He's the head coach. He should have known. That's just I don't understand that. The offensive coordinator says the cameraman was blocking his view of the clock.
That's bullshit, dude. Total bullshit.
Listen, I don't care what level it is right now. I mean, I see it all the time in college. I see it in the pros. They get down there within range and they put it on the kicker every single time. And it's crazy. I just
think of how many things can go wrong.
So many things can go wrong. Yeah. Lincoln Riley does it at OU all the time. No. It's everywhere, like I said, and it's my biggest pet peeve in football. Listen, I would rather go down you got 2 minutes left at the 35-yard lines and you got Pat Mahomes and you try to score a touchdown and say he throws a pick. I'd be better with that than a kicker missing a field goal. Yeah. To me, you kick the field goal at the last second when you don't have any other options. It's your last resort. You're out of time. You tried. Now you got to kick it and that whatever happens, happens. But to purposely run plays to set up field goals when you're as good as the Chiefs or, as good as Dallas on offense, it's crazy. So that's my rant on that. All right, let's move on to the final game. We'll talk about the NFL for as far as what happened yesterday. This was a hell of a game too. The Titans fight back after looking lifeless week 1, force overtime in Seattle, and win the game. They win in overtime, 33-30 over the Seahawks. Derrick Henry, who did nothing week 1 against the Cardinals defense, who was just gashed by Minnesota last week. He takes the game over in Seattle. This was a huge win for the Titans.
This was the most impressive win of the weekend, I think. The Raiders are honorable mention, and so are the Ravens. But Tennessee, this was a tremendous victory. They were behind significantly in this game. They were so bad last week, and it's hard to win in Seattle. And to win this, man, you talk about a huge win for them. They're one of my picks to go a long ways in the playoffs, and they could have easily started 0-2. So this was a huge victory for them. Very impressive, and it's going to springboard them probably down the road.
Yeah, and they were getting dominated at the half. They showed a lot of guts to come back and win this game. They may have, and again, it's 2 weeks. We're not overreacting, but at the same time, they may have saved their season right there because if they go to 0-2, things aren't looking great for them. Last comment on the field goal, and I agree, Scott. They played not to lose instead of going out and trying to win the damn thing.
That's true.
And again, sometimes it works out, and then sometimes it doesn't. But the point is, I would rather put the ball in the hands of the guys that have went out there the whole game and got me into this position than a kicker. I'm sorry. That's just how I was. So
I guarantee you the players feel that way too. Yeah. They don't want that going into the kicker's hands.
No, and again, if it's the last resort, you get the ball 25 seconds left, and you're on your own 35, and you're trying to get to the field goal because you can't score a touchdown in that.
And spot. One more thing on the Titans win their next 3 games, they got Indy at home, then they go to the Jets, they go to Jacksonville. Yeah. Hey, you're looking 4-1 instead of 3-2, and that's a huge difference. And
Yes,
you
it
don't
is.
know if you lose that game, what's that going to do to your psyche, when you're 0-2? Now, that game's huge. That was a big win for them.
Yep, you got a lot of momentum going into it. And Dennis, to wrap us up here, says he was scared to death betting this game. It was one of the hardest games of the week in the handicap. I would agree, because the Titans, you thought there's no way they're as bad as they were week one. But also it's like, God, they're going to have to be a total 180 to win here in Seattle. Well, they pulled it off. So Good for them. That was a huge win.
These good NFL teams, good ones, they will bounce back the next week, which leads us into this one.
Yeah, so definitely that's a very good segue into the Lions and the Packers tonight. It's not a sexy matchup tonight for Monday Night Football, to say the least, but it is interesting in the fact that what will Green Bay do after just getting embarrassed by the Saints? And oh, by the way, the Saints get embarrassed this week by Carolina. What will Green Bay do here? They host the Lions. The Green Bay 11.5-point favorite. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen on Monday night?
Well, again, I just said it with the Titans. I don't know if the Packers are as good as the Titans. They were absolutely awful in week one. What we don't know for sure is how bad are the internal problems there. Mm-hmm. Is Aaron Rodgers a distraction, or is he going to rally the troops? We talked about it last week. Who can take care of that problem? Well, he's the one that has to take care of the problem. Coaches can't do much about that situation because Aaron Rodgers has more power than any coach that's there. So that's the key to the game tonight. They're better than the Lions. We all know that. Are they 11.5 better? Yeah, probably. But do they have problems? Are there internal problems? Are the other players against Aaron Rodgers? That's the key when we're looking at this one tonight.
Yep. I'm going to stay away from the game completely because 11.5 is a tricky line anyway, even if things were going well. In the NFL, 11.5 is a lot of points.
It is.
If I trusted that the Packers were going to be the Packers, meaning like how they've been the last couple of years, I would take the over 48.5. But I do not trust this team right now because of how bad they were. So I think it's a good sit and watch game. I think Dennis has a good point. You can bet this game live. Maybe take a look at what the Packers look like coming out of the gate here, first or second drive, as Dennis says, and then make a judgment, or just lay off completely if you see and it's like, damn, they don't look good here. So I think it's a good game to sit and watch. I don't think it's one you need to bet. I really don't, because you just don't know what's happening in Green Bay. We're going to find out, though. If they bounce back, you're going to say, well, it's the Lions, yes, but at least they showed life. So. Yeah. And not a great game, but an interesting game.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't touch it either. Yeah. Not sure I'm going to watch it. I'm going to a high school volleyball game tonight. That's how dumb I am. So,
well, okay, we got to back up. Why are you going to a high school volleyball game tonight?
Well, a good friend of mine that I taught with is bringing her team up here to where I live tonight to play. And 3 weeks ago, when I was, I don't know, stupid or something, I told her I would come tonight. So, yeah. She texted me a while ago and said, are you still coming? And I thought, oh, crap. Yeah. I guess so. So
you could always get sick. Maybe you get sick here a little later.
Well, a volleyball game sometimes doesn't take very long. So I'm hoping her team's better than the team here. And, they can go real fast. Those games can.
Yeah.
And I could always sneak out the side door after I've talked to her. You just want to make sure she knows you were there. So
honestly, if you're going to go to an event, a volleyball game's not an event you don't care about, I should say. A volleyball game isn't too bad. Yeah. Because it does go fast. So,
well, I don't know anything about it. So, just get it over the net. I think you're doing pretty good. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, have fun at that. I will not be going.
No.
Okay, let's go to college here. I've got the college scoreboard recap up here. I'll just quickly mention this was a huge win for Louisville on Friday night to beat Central Florida 42-35. Hell of a game. Once again, Dylan Gabriel plays well, the quarterback for Central Florida for most of the night, and it just makes terrible plays out of nowhere. Louisville wins in dramatic fashion. That was a fun one. Maryland.
Well, we want to mention that for Dennis too.
Well, yeah, Dennis's team, Louisville for sure. It was a huge.
By the way, Aaron, did you see where Gabriel has a broken collarbone?
No, I didn't.
I don't know when that took place, but yeah, he has a broken. I think
No, I hadn't seen
in
that.
the clavicle, the collarbone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Dennis says, I lost my bet, but my team won. How should I feel? I
You
would
should
say
feel really good.
feel happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your team's always important, the most important.
That's right.
Maryland squeaked by Illinois in a very uninspiring win, but it's a win nonetheless. All right, let's get to the game in Oklahoma. This game we were at. Oklahoma, 22.5 favorites, 22.5 point favorites coming into the game. They win 23-16. All right, now we'll talk about another team that had championship aspirations who have major problems. Where do you even start with this game with Oklahoma?
Well, I told you they wouldn't cover, and I was right. So I got to throw that in there. But again, let's not overreact yet. But we've seen a couple of games now. They tend to get better as the season goes along. So we gotta look at it that way. But they've got problems at quarterback. There's some issues there that, don't know exactly what it is. I do want to commend Nebraska. I thought they played great. Very, very hard. They did a lot of good things. And I came away, other than some dumb penalties that they got, Nebraska did, they're pretty well coached. I thought they made adjustments. They're running an offense that they have to run. They don't quite have the players on offense. Their defense played really good. I don't know. I just don't want to. I'm too close to the Oklahoma program to be. I'm kind of like Chiefs fans. I kind of overreact a little bit, but they got offensive problems. There's something wrong. I don't know what it is.
You can overreact. This is not a good team.
No, they're not good. No,
this is not a good team. This is a team that's going to lose some games. And listen, they played two real teams, Tulane and Nebraska. Okay. Nebraska lost to Illinois, who hadn't won a game since. Okay. Tulane lost 61-21 to Ole Miss.
I hear you.
And both games were one possession games, and both teams had the ball with a chance to win the game late. Okay.
I agree.
Spencer Rattler has played two real teams. He was not the best quarterback in the Tulane game. Yes, I'll repeat that again. The Tulane quarterback outplayed Rattler. And then Taylor Martinez, we know what Martinez is. He's no good. And he outplayed Spencer Rattler easily on Saturday. OU has no quarterback. OU has no go-to wide receiver right now. And OU has a defense that can't defend the pass. It's going to get bad.
It is. And Spencer Rattler is more interested in the money that he's making with this NIL crap. I don't know whether you saw him in the post-game interview, but he's got this diamond necklace on with his logo. Huge logo on there. I don't understand. There was rumors going on. He's getting new cars or something.
He got two new cars for signing a NIL deal with this dealership down in Norman. Yeah.
So that's out of control. I don't know what a coaching staff can do about that. I don't know how you can police that. I guess you can't go say, hey, don't do it. I mean, he's making money off of it. So there's issues. We're just going to have to see how that plays out. I don't know.
You have to hope that the kid is mature enough to not let it get in the way. And listen, the mistakes he's making are just incredible. Like after the game, they said, well, at least he didn't throw an interception. Yeah, but he threw three balls into triple coverage. Like he could have been intercepted. I'll agree with Dennis. He says Tulane I can forgive, but this is unforgivable. This is why I agree with it. Tulane at the half, it looked like that was getting ready to be a blowout. So you could always make the case of, well, they just let off the gas and that it was more mental than anything else. And they were really probably 20, 30 points better than Tulane. This game was 23-16, and it should have been 21-17. And if Nebraska makes a chip shot, it's 21-20. Now, one of the field goals they missed was a long one. I'll give them, the biggest play in this game, OU blocked an extra point and returned it for 2 points. That changed the whole game. It changed how each team played, how each team made, called plays and how it went. They look like a team pretty similar to Nebraska. And this Nebraska team's not good. I'm telling you that right now. So
no, they didn't dominate them at all.
No.
No.
If anything, well, I'm not going to say Nebraska outplayed them, but it was an evenly matched.
It was even. It was like the old Nebraska-Oklahoma games of old when both teams were really good. That's the kind of game it was.
Yep. And now both teams aren't good.
No, they're both about the same.
Yeah, and that's scary for what's going to happen with Oklahoma. All right, let's move on. This game got tight. This was almost a massive upset. Alabama goes to the Swamp and comes out and looks like they're just going to dominate, just run away. And then all of a sudden, Florida's a 2-point conversion away from this being a tie game with less than 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Alabama survives 31-29. Obviously, they do not cover. What do we make of Alabama after this?
Well, the article I just wrote, I don't know if it's been posted yet, probably not, on the most impressive and biggest disappointments of the week. I put on there my number 5 disappointment is all of us Alabama worshipers who worship them too quick. And again, we overreact to things. What has been proven out is this. That opening win over Miami is not near as impressive as we thought it was. And and then this game, playing them close like that, again, they got the win. That's the most important thing. But suddenly, maybe they're not as good as we thought. And I think they do have some defensive problems. And they haven't been as great on defense the last few years anyway. I mean, I'm going to take it as a game that's tough to win. You got to go in the Swamp and win. I think there was some weather conditions in there a little bit too. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think it was going to be this close. And I certainly didn't think Florida would run the ball and hurt them like they did offensively. So suddenly they're not invincible. But we do this all the time. We overreact and see. It's got to take these games one at a time and see what happens.
I think the only concerning thing for me coming out of it is exactly what he said, that Florida was able to move the ball, and I don't think this Florida offense is going to prove to be that good moving forward. We listened to a lot of the second half on the radio. We watched most of the first half while we were eating, and it's just like chunk plays. Like Florida would hand it off and get 8 yards. They'd hit a guy over the middle and get 15 yards. That was a surprising thing. But like I said, a huge win for Alabama still.
It's a win.
Yeah, they got tested. They got in some big, tight spots, and they were able to win. So a win is a win. If you went on the road, you beat a ranked team.
Right. And I noticed here, I'll point out one more thing. Mm-hmm. This proves that they're human also. Look at that first quarter score, 21-3, total domination. Did they let off the gas like other teams do? And then the other team starts getting some momentum and they couldn't turn it back on. That's what it looks like happened down there.
That could be. And Dennis says it's a tough, hard-fought game. Doesn't change his thoughts, but they did show some vulnerabilities in the game for the first time this year. And so that's something. This comment, I think it's like when a good 2-year-old tries steaks for the first time and they win by a neck. Yeah, that might be right. Maybe the 2-year-old gets out ahead by 6 links, kind of like Alabama gets ahead 21-3. Just kind of hangs on, and maybe it's a learning experience for him. Still number 1 in the country, still undefeated. So nothing I didn't think to panic about, really.
Hey, they got a big one coming up in a couple of weeks. Ole Miss.
Yeah.
We'll talk about, I'm sure, here in a minute.
Ole Miss, super impressive offensively. So it is interesting. That could be a shootout. Georgia took care of South Carolina. Oregon wins. Your Hawkeyes are now 3-0. They beat Kent State. I'll stop at this one. Clemson wins 14-8 over Georgia Tech. It's a win.
Yep.
Clemson has major offensive problems.
I didn't see the game because we were on the road. I know they had weather problems. I don't know exactly whether it was rain. I know they had lightning delays, so I'm assuming there was some sort of rain or something. They've played 2 Division I teams, okay, and they've scored 17 points. That's a problem. And Georgia Tech's not any good. Yeah. Now, the other Georgia team was pretty good. So I don't know what's going on there. They're my number 1 disappointment right now is their offense. Defensively, obviously, they're good. They're not going to make it through that schedule, not being able to score. So I don't, like I say, I've not got to see them. I didn't get to see that game at all. So I don't really know what's going on, but their statistics are not good at all. They're not moving the ball.
No, they look bad. I watched the second half of this one. We got back in time. You probably didn't because you got an hour longer to drive, but I watched the second half of this one. I couldn't believe what I was watching. They're bad.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think, is the Georgia defense really just this all elite group, or was that kind of a mirage and Clemson's not very good? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Here's a good question. Who has a bigger problem, Oklahoma or Clemson?
Well, I'm going to say this. Clemson's schedule, neither one of them schedule is too tough.
No.
Clemson plays in the ACC. This is a tough game for them this week. If they get by that one, I don't think they're going to lose, even as bad as they are. I think they'll get some things straightened out. Oklahoma's got, I'm going to talk about the Big 12 here right now. I'll just go ahead and do it right now real quick. Last week I blasted them. It was my rant. This week they're a little better. They had 4 key games, and they won them all. Nebraska-Oklahoma game, that's not a big win, but it's still a win. Boise State, Oklahoma State went to Boise State and beat them. That's a good win. Kansas State beat a good Nevada team convincingly at home. And what the hell's the other one? What other one on it?
What did you mention? West Virginia?
Yeah, West Virginia and they beat the number 15 ranked team in the country. Yeah. So the Big 12 came back a little bit, and so I don't know. I think I don't know. I think Clemson's offense is a heck of a lot worse than Oklahoma's right at the moment. I really do.
I do too. I think if Oklahoma played Georgia Tech, they would at least get in the 20s. Georgia Tech might get in the 20s too. So I think they both are big.
They both have problems.
They both have big problems. Yeah.
And guess what? The rest of the country don't care.
Well, yeah, that's right. Everybody else is laughing except for Clemson fans and us. Yeah, A&M takes care of New Mexico. They got bigger fish to fry this coming Thursday. Right. We'll talk about that game. They got a big Saturday game against the Razorbacks. We'll go to your lock of the week. It didn't look good for a while, but Cincinnati pulls away late to beat Indiana 38-24. I think this is even more of a quality win for Cincinnati, considering they got behind by 2 touchdowns, 14-0 early. We were following this game. We were inside the stadium there at Norman because they played at the same time. But big win for Cincinnati.
Oh, I was sweating this one out. I thought they'd win easier than that. Score maybe about like that, but I thought Indiana would score late to do that. So that was a huge win for them. Like I say, I was sweating it, but they pulled out for me. Now they have a week off before they go to South Bend, Indiana for the biggest game in Cincinnati history, probably.
You're probably right about that. Yeah. But to make that the biggest game in their history, they had to win this one.
Yes, they did.
I thought they showed a lot of stones. Get behind 14-0 on the road. You're not really known for a real explosive offense. They came rolling back. So major props to them. They showed me a lot there. Even if Indiana, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't think Indiana's that great, and they may not be, but still, that's
a big win.
Yeah, really impressive. Very unimpressive win for Ohio State, but they do bounce back and beat Tulsa 41-20. The game of the weekend was Penn State, Auburn. Auburn goes to Penn State. And I thought Auburn gave a decent showing of themselves. In the end, I think Penn State just a little too good, a little too consistent. Nice 28-20 win for Penn State.
A couple of things I took away from that. Penn State's quarterback, Sean Clifford, was excellent, threw the ball. If they can throw the ball to go along with that running game they have and their tough defense, they're gonna be tough. I mean, they got a leg up in the Big Ten with that win over Wisconsin. I'm very impressed with Penn State. And have you ever seen a better whiteout than that stadium with those pom-poms? That was absolutely – those people had to be exhausted by the time they got home after that game.
It was a great atmosphere. Yep.
The idea of those pom-poms, it's not just a whiteout. It's those things. Yep. And they've got the rhythm down. I mean, it was just incredible. I was sitting there watching that, and And I was thinking two things. I was thinking how many people are going to get COVID after this game. That's the first thing that got in my mind. You got 150,000 people spitting all over each other. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. And the second thing was, holy cow, that was so awesome to see that. That was something else.
Yeah, it was great. It was definitely great. And I think you mentioned it. The quarterback Penn State played great, and Bo Nix is just not very good for Auburn. And honestly, I think that's the difference in the game.
It was.
I really do.
That and the fact Auburn hadn't been hit yet. They hadn't had a test, but I thought they answered the bell. I was very impressed with Auburn. They're pretty good.
Yeah, at times Auburn was able to line up and run the ball and do it pretty effectively. And then at times, they got stopped and they had to rely on the quarterback, and he's just not that good. But this was a hell of a game, kind of another old school throwback type of game. Dennis hit the under, he says, on the Penn State Auburn game. He thinks Penn State's pretty good, top 5 contender. I'll stop the show for a second because I can pull up an article you do. Jason Hummel says, who are the top 5 teams right now, college football? If you go to the website right now, it looks like Papa Dude has Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State. You got Clemson number 5? I don't know about that.
Well, I do, because I don't count that Georgia loss at all. Somebody's got to be in there. After you get through those top 4, I don't see anybody worth a crap, to be honest. I don't see anybody to put in there.
Yeah, you got, like I said, Alabama obvious, Georgia's obvious, Oregon has the biggest win, going to the Ohio State.
Or Penn State. Penn State's got 2.
Penn State has 2 wins, so there's 4. You're right. Okay, let's look at it. Clemson, they haven't been very good, but they have the best loss. OU's been awful. Ohio State has not looked good.
Nope.
Cincinnati, maybe you could put them at 5. Maybe you put Iowa at 5.
No way. They're not that good. We know that.
Yeah, they might.
Look at 11, Texas A&M. What have they done? Nothing.
They're not very good.
There isn't anybody to put in there.
Yeah.
There's just not.
Scott says Iowa because they do have two nice wins, but the Indiana win, I don't know
they're going to get beat, Scott. They're going to get beat. That's the thing. That is the thing. Iowa's going to lose one sometime soon. You can go down like Florida. I almost jumped Florida way up.
Yeah.
They were as impressive as anybody. I mean, okay. The most invincible team in the country, Alabama, you playing within 2 and you have a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Shouldn't you be number 5?
Yeah, that you could.
Maybe you should be number 2.
Yeah, you could make an argument for it. I think. What about our Cougars? They have 2 wins against ranked opponents. Maybe they should be up there a little higher than that.
Probably too low. How about Ole Miss?
Yeah, Ole Miss. They're 3-0. They haven't really played anybody yet. Well, they beat Louisville, and Louisville beat Central Florida. So maybe they jump up there.
They're not just beating teams either. They're slaughtering them.
That's true. Dennis thinks, what about Fresno State? They picked up a big win. They're top 20 team, maybe.
I got them ranked, Dennis.
What do you have, Fresno? 23.
23, and I almost moved them up higher than that.
That's about right.
I bet they're not in the top 25 in the AP, though.
I do think, these top 4 teams here that I highlight, I think those are clear top 4.
No doubt.
I think they've separated themselves. And again, it's only 3 weeks, but I do think they've kind of separated themselves a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues. We'll continue down the scoreboard recap here real quick and finish this thing up. Notre Dame picks up a win against Purdue. They have not looked good really in any of their games, but they're winning. And I think that means something. It means everything, right? Dennis, you just mentioned Fresno. This was a huge win, and they had to score late on the road to win this game. 40-37, Fresno State beats UCLA. Big setback for UCLA.
Fresno State's good, though. But
they are.
That game was in California. Both schools are in California, but it was in LA.
Yeah.
And now, if that had been at Fresno, I wouldn't have been surprised by that. But Fresno State's pretty good, but that was a bad loss for UCLA, and they got Stanford this week. Yeah. That's going to be a toughie.
The momentum that UCLA was building was halted. Right. And what does this say about LSU? Because UCLA beat LSU pretty decisively, and then Fresno goes in there and wins. And again, I'm not shitting on Fresno, but LSU should be better than that.
That's right.
May not be. Iowa State, easy win, 48-3.
By the way, Ricky said they wouldn't score 31. Remember that?
Well, Ricky said that he went on a rant saying that Iowa State would be the dumbest bet ever, and they won 48-3. And he also said all we'd be talking about is Tank Bigsby and we didn't mention him when we talked.
Well, I do have to say Tank was pretty good in that game.
He was good, but he's just another back. I don't see anything crazy special about him. But he was very good, no doubt. Like we already mentioned, West Virginia got that big win over Virginia Tech, 27-21. They come to Norman, so we'll see what happens with the West Virginia Oklahoma game. Coastal Carolina barely survives. And we mentioned
I think they're overrated.
Coastal Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they haven't looked great. Even Kansas, it wasn't close, but it was closer than it should have been probably. Ole Miss 61-21. Let me stop it here because they have been super impressive. The Louisville win that they had in week 1 looks better now than it did when they got it. Can they challenge Alabama?
They did last year.
Yeah.
Like I say, I've been on the road a couple of the weeks of college football, but I have seen Matt Corral. There's no one has impressed me more than he has of any quarterback that I've seen.
Yeah.
So far. Their offense is dynamic. It's going to be hard to stop. Their defense is better. I don't know how good it is, but it's better. They hung 48 on Alabama last year, and it wasn't 48 late points. That game was nip and tuck, back and forth. Saban was chewing on him. Everybody that could get close to him, he couldn't believe it. I think it was 62-48 or something like that. Heck of a game. I'm not saying they're going to beat Alabama, but I think this team can win 9 or 10 games with the way they're playing. Now they're going to have to beat some people they don't normally beat. I don't want to get on the bandwagon too quick. They've been as impressive as anybody.
Why don't I phrase it like this? You've got Alabama and you've got Georgia. Okay, I think everybody knows or believes those are your 2 best SEC schools. Ole Miss? Are they flirting with like that 3rd or 4th best SEC school right now? Like, is that where they're at, or are we overrating them?
Well, I think if you're rating them right now, yes.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen down the line, but they've really looked good, and they got the prettiest uniforms in football, by the way. They're gorgeous
because of those helmets. I love the blue helmets.
I love them.
Yeah.
Any color combination they put with that blue helmet, man. They got good-looking uniforms.
It's definitely a win. The blue helmet is a win. BYU, listen, I said on the show, it's deja vu all over again for BYU. Yep. They beat Utah 26-17, and then this time they beat Arizona State 27-17. Home underdogs in both those games, and they win them outright. And again, they weren't all that competitive, neither one of them. BYU.
Now I looked at their schedule there, and they got a good shot to run the table. They really do.
Now. Yep. Arkansas, listen, we thought they might be a little bit down for this game. They handled Georgia Southern easily, 45-10, set up the undefeated versus undefeated matchup this week with Texas A&M. We'll talk about that at length on Thursday. That may be the game of the week in college football. It's going to be a hell of a game. North Carolina, they bounced back. You liked North Carolina a lot in this game, and they proved you right. 59-39. I'll ask you this. How did they play so bad at Virginia Tech week 1?
Well, they just made a lot of mistakes. They should have scored more points than they did. Probably came in there a little bit overrated, got ambushed early. They got beat up pretty bad early in that game, kind of turned it on, but just couldn't get over the hump. They're starting to come around a little bit. I don't think Virginia's that good. And I think North Carolina is going to prove me wrong. I think they may come on with the ACC being as weak as it is, and Miami's not any good. I think they're going to get back up in the top 10 or 12 before this is over with.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Dennis says it was week 1, that's why. But really, that shouldn't be an excuse for a team like North Carolina, who had a lot of experience back on offense, including Sam Howell, who many believe might be the best quarterback in college football. So there's no excuse. They should have beat Virginia Tech. A horrible loss. Now, that's a team, North Carolina, if they can continue to score and continue to show something on offense, they could beat a Clemson, because who can Clemson match their scores? I'm not sure this year. Let's move on, though. This was a huge win. Michigan State was a 6.5-point underdog, and they dominate Miami 38-17. The bloom's off the rose of Miami. I think we can agree they're not very good.
No. And this is the surprise team of the year, is Michigan State to this point. I mean, don't you think?
Oh, no question. They're 3-0, and they've looked impressive.
Several preseason magazines had them the worst team in the Big Ten.
Yep.
and 3-0, and we know Miami's not quite as good as we thought they were. Well, obviously not, but still, you had to go to Miami and beat them. They didn't just beat them; they thumped them. So yeah, what an impressive job at Michigan State. They brought in a lot of transfers through the portal, and they're working out. And great job up in East Lansing.
And again, I'll use a horse racing term that I used last week to describe them. It's obviously Northwestern's not very good, right?
No.
I mean, we've established that. They lost to Duke this week, and it's obvious Miami's not that good. But when a good horse beats a bad field and beats them by several lengths, well, hey, yeah, he faced lesser competition, but he beat them easily, and that's what Michigan State's done. They're winning easily, so it's a good sign for when they do eventually play a better team that maybe they'll be able to compete with them.
And the thing about Michigan State is that program has been at the top. They know how to win. They get a little momentum behind them. They're gonna think they're good.
Yep, absolutely right. They're not a rich tradition, but they've got tradition there. They're used to being solid.
Yep.
Michigan, the other team in the state of Michigan, they're starting to gain momentum. I don't know who they've really played, but again, they win 63-10. They're kind of dominating teams so far. So maybe there's hope for the Wolverines to finally get that thing kind of turned around there. I sure hope so. Well, not really. I don't like them, but I do like. Okay, I'll backtrack. I don't like Michigan, but I do like when there's some kind of competition for Ohio State in the Big Ten. And I do like when that game means something. So hopefully Michigan can kind of at least get back to that level. That's all for the ranked teams. I did want to scroll down here. I wanted to mention this one. Minnesota goes to Colorado and wins 30-0. That was impressive. You mentioned Kansas State. They beat Nevada 38-17. That's not a bad win for K-State. That's a pretty good win. That was kind of a toss-up game going into it. I'm scrolling down here because I want to point out one more. By the way, USC first game with the new coach, 45-14 win over Washington State. This one I wanted to point out how bad is Florida State. They go to Wake Forest, and they're not even competitive. They lose 35-14 at Wake Forest. Gosh, they're horrid. I don't know what's going on there. This is the one I want to talk about because I want you to go on your SEC officials rant. The headline, the score, 31-29, Memphis beats Mississippi State, but the headline is this crazy punt return of 94 yards for Mississippi, for Memphis, and Mississippi State basically downed the punt. Talk about this just craziness in this game.
Well, had this happened in the Penn State-Auburn game, Alabama-Florida, any of the big games of the week, this would be getting a hell of a lot more of attention than what it's getting.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, if I wasn't a big college football fan, I wouldn't even know this happened. But to set this, first of all, this is my big disappointment of the week is the SEC officials, because we have two examples of the SEC officiating crews totally screwing up. So, obviously the SEC officials are not as good as the SEC football teams. And so, okay, let's go back to the Penn State one that happened in Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
They lost track of the downs at Penn State. There's 7 officials. You got guys over there on the chains, running the chains. You got the down marker and everything else, guys over there. And you got people in the replay booths. How can you not notice this? Yeah. How can somebody not know, hey, wait a minute, you got the down wrong, and stop the game and get that straightened out? How can that be? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it in a high school game. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable that they no one overturned that.
Yep.
I mean, why do we even have all of these guys if that's going to happen? I mean, that's just ridiculous. So anyway, it didn't hurt. Penn State ended up winning. Back to this one. If you haven't seen this, go to YouTube, and all you got to do is put Mississippi State, Memphis in there, and it'll come up. Okay. The Mississippi State, that's a good one, Mark. You're absolutely right. A buddy of mine this morning, I was did my 2-mile walk this morning. He brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay, so set this up. Mississippi State punted. Okay, and they punted inside the 10-yard line, and the Memphis returner got out of the way, like you do. because you want the ball to go on into the end zone so you'll get a touchback and bring it out to the 20. They got out of the way. Okay, so the ball hits at the 2, and it bounces backwards.
Mhm.
And the Mississippi State defender significantly touches the ball. What that means is he's got it under control. Okay. He sets the ball down thinking the play is over because the official is standing right there doing the signal to stop the clock.
Yeah.
The other official is standing over there with his whistle in his mouth. Whether he blew the whistle or not, I don't know. But the Mississippi State players are seeing the officials signaling, stop the clock, the play is over.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the Memphis guy, who's very alert, you got to give him credit, comes in there because the Mississippi State players quit. The play's over. They think the play is over. They're walking off the field. The Memphis guy comes in and picks up the ball and returns it 92 yards, 94 yards, whatever it was, for a touchdown. Now, okay, 7 officials, replay booth. All these people are there. The SEC has issued a statement yesterday that the play should have been overruled. It should have been overturned. Why did it not happen at that time? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
And why do we have all this? I mean, couldn't those 7 officials have gotten together and say, hey, now what did you see? What did you do? Did you signal that play over with?
Yeah.
What's the explanation? How can they explain that?
This one's more well, no, I'm not going to say more, but they're both just completely unacceptable and baffling. But you're right. It's like, especially with the downs, giving them 3 downs instead of 4. It's like that's a pretty easy correction.
Yeah.
You go back and go, okay, this was first down, this was second down. Wait a second, it's not fourth down. That seems very easy to correct. This one, you would think would be just as easy. I mean,
it is. And to come back on here the next day and say they got it wrong.
Yeah.
When you got 7 officials out there, you got 2 of them right back there by the play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the referee doesn't go down there and say, hey, guys, what did you see?
Yeah.
Did you signal? What did you do?
And it's a 2-point game. That's the other thing, that ends up being a 2-point game. This cost Mississippi State the game.
It did. It was 21-17. Memphis was ahead. That made it 28-17.
Yep.
I mean, it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable.
Yep.
And you know what? Coaches get hired and fired all the time on their records. I don't think Mike Leach is in trouble at Mississippi State or not.
Yeah.
But he'll be sitting there 3-0.
Yeah. With 3 big wins, too. 3 games. They had to survive to beat Louisiana Tech. They got a big home win against North Carolina State. And this should have been a win against Memphis. And like I said, to be 3-0 would be great. And Russ says he's laughing at all the Mississippi State fans saying fire Leach. I mean,
that's stupid. But
yeah,
3-0 in the SEC when you're at Mississippi State, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge.
I know. Yeah, it could cost them, a bowl even. Yeah, so it's pretty bad. So, and that's the thing. It changes the outcome of the game regardless of the quarter or half. It impacts the play calling and all of that goes into the game. It's a totally different ball game when that's good. Yeah. I'm telling you, and you probably thought I was nuts. I was screaming so loud when OU was trying to return that extra point that they did for 2 points when they blocked it and it came back. Because even a 3-point swing in a game changes everything. Yes. It changes the entire approach by both teams. And this was even a bigger swing, obviously, to get a touchdown. So,
well, the bottom line here is this should have been overturned.
Yeah.
It's why we have replay.
Yeah.
And those of us that go to these games and sit through all of these delays while they're reviewing this, and they don't overturn this. Yeah. I just don't know what the explanation can possibly be. I don't.
Well, anybody that's been in a college football stadium, you can feel when that momentum gets turned, right? Yeah. So a play like that is just a huge momentum shift. And momentum is everything in college football. So it's just awful. Just awful.
Well, I'm going to guarantee you this too. Had this happened in Alabama with Saban over on the sidelines,
yeah,
that would have been overturned. I'm going to guarantee you that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's several that would have got that overturned, but like I said, is Memphis, Mississippi State, it kind of went unnoticed, for a while there, but is what it is. That's another aspect of college football you got to deal with, unfortunately.
Well, it's all levels. It's NFL too.
Well, that's true. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
And we'll move on.
And one more thing.
Yep, go ahead.
I don't like to berate officials because I wouldn't do it for all the money in the world. But this was one. Okay, officials make mistakes. They do. And we have replays. That's what it's for. These games are hard to referee. God, it's going so fast. You got all these big bodies coming at you. It's hard. So I'm not knocking the officials for making the bad call. I'm knocking the whole people that are involved to correct this. That's what I'm knocking, not the officials. Correct this. That's what you're there for.
That's why we have that. Exactly. Right. Exactly. That's why you have replay to correct things they get wrong, because it is hard to officiate these games.
It's extremely hard.
Exactly. You're right. And that replay and logic fails here. I wanted to mention this one. We'll move on. You're San Diego State. You had them +9, and they went outright 33-31 against Utah. So that had to be good to see that one happen. Yep. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. I don't think there's much else to go over. Texas, hey, they bounced back. They beat Rice.
Hey, how about that?
Good job.
They're going to beat Macaroni this week.
Yeah. Oklahoma State won 21-20 over Boise. Boise got absolutely hosed in this game, but
I didn't see that. What happened in that?
Let's see. How can I?
You might want to. We've been going here for a while.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into it. It was a. I can't even hardly explain it. It was.
Well, could it have been overturned?
Yeah, it kind of was. It was a fumble, and they returned it for a touchdown, but they called it. They didn't call it a fumble, or I had the sound off. It was late. I was tired, but anyway, they had a defensive return for a touchdown, and they didn't let them have it, but they let them have the ball at the spot that they picked it up, because I think they blew the whistle. I think that's what happened. Anyway, and so it turns out, that they lose the game. They still have a chance to win. It turns out they lose 21-20, but nevertheless, it was a good game and a win for Oklahoma State. Northern Arizona is making the playoff. Yeah, they beat Arizona 21-19. Arizona.
Oh, that's a good program, Arizona. That's a good
they're
one.
really, really bad. That's it, though. That's all we got for this week. We knew we'd go over because there was so much to talk about. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun this week as well. Mark says Wyoming 3-0, and now they're a 30-point favorite at UConn this week. UConn, the worst team in college football. So look out.
4-0, no doubt.
Yep, they look good. They look good.
Yep.
Dennis says, great show. Thanks for making my workday go by easier after a rough last 3 days. Dennis works at Churchill Downs, so I'm sure Dennis, there was night racing at Churchill Downs. So I'm sure that was a shit show on Saturday, if I'm guessing. You can weigh in on that or not, Dennis. Tell us how that went. But I'm sure the night racing at Churchill Downs, he's carting some people off that have had a little too much to drink there beneath the Twin Spires. So, anyway, thank you for the comment there, Dennis. We have a lot of fun doing it. I know we were both looking forward to it this week. So, all right, any final thoughts here before we sign off?
Nope, got to get to work on our picks for next week, starting as soon as this is over.
That's right. Yes,
next week for the big college games this week.
That's right. Yeah, we've already got the big college games planned out here, and we'll have those articles up for you guys probably Wednesday-ish, Thursday-ish, maybe. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're going to get work on that. We got a really good week coming up for college and the NFL. So that's going to be fun. And of course, the Monday night game tonight. So guys, good luck if you're betting that Monday night football game. And listen, we'll be right back here Thursday doing what we always do, breaking down the big games with both college and NFL, and giving our top 5 plays. Somebody, not me, did really well for week 1, and then somebody did shitty, not him, me, for week for the first week. So we'll go over all those bets and what our records are on Thursday's show. like we always do, we'll end it with this. Curtis is watching and he says Lions. That's his team. I doubt that's going to happen, Curtis, but good luck anyway. All right, we're going to sign off here. Check us out on Thursday. We'll be right back previewing all the big games just like we always do. So thanks everybody for watching, and good luck if you're betting Monday Night Football.